Dorenu l'umat dorot kodmim. Compare our generation to previous generations. Page Kuf Samachet. Omer Chazal melamdin otanu shemilmeimad hazeh yeshnam shnei kivunim. We have two kivunim, two directions for this meimad. What does that mean for this meimad? Well, that's you. Oh, you texted. Okay. It was an old text. It was an old text. Matter of it showed up now. Okay, so Chazal Malamdin Osanu Shemilamei Marazeh Yeshnam Shnei Kivunim. O Klape Maila, Mina Arts Ala Shamayim, O L'Rocha Misof Olam Latzav. Remember we said that Adam is, when he's born, when he's created, he's super tall. Adam and Chava are either stretch the whole span of the planet horizontally or vertically. And that's in our DNA. And therefore, later on in many generations, Hashem reveals to us the ability to reach the other side of the planet in moments. Mm-hmm. So we thought used to take years. When you get on a plane, it takes hours. And now today it takes seconds or less to reach someone in Israel. If children in Israel, it takes seconds to get there. Something that was sci-fi a few years ago. But that's because it was always in our DNA to be able to reach the other side of the world. It's always there. So there are two vantage points. We can either stretch vertical or horizontally. I remember there was a rabbi explaining this idea. He was crossing someplace, he didn't realize what he was doing, so he stopped but that's part of, I think, I'm pretty sure Catholic theology, that was they turned the image of a cross, which is just basically an ancient form of torture, into a religious symbol. So they tried to say, oh, what does it mean? The Shesi V'Arei, sideways and the vertical, it means horizontal relationships, it means with God, etc. It's interesting. Anyway. Zuai saw Metziu, so Adam Rishon. The existence of Adam Rishon, v'chein nachon legabe kol echad, kol adam ad sof kol adorot. Every person, for all generations, has this midah in them. Lifnei mea chamishim shana, for 150 years, kol adam kivyochol raglav hayu ala arts v'rosho hayu b'shamayim. Many years ago, let's say every single person, their feet were on the ground, the head was in Shamayim. Uchayim Kedusha in Ruchnias. He lived a holy life. Yehudi Chayim Kedusha in Ruchnias. Uchayim Kadosh Baruch Hu. V'Hagoy Chay be'olamot shel kshafim shel dvarim tiviim aval kol adam mitivo higia hashamayim. So maybe if you were a member of another religion, you had other beliefs, witchcraft or sorcery or whatever it was, right? Some other magical religious belief, right? Or belief in nature and science. People worship science, right? We know that. But everyone in his nature had a relationship with Shamayim. Osam Yamim, in those days, if you lived in a small village, Ilu Hayo Shoalim Oso, don't you want to see the world out there? Travel the world? What do you mean? What does that mean, see the world? The Gemara has stories of Rabba Bar Chana, who explored seas and explored the deserts, right? Like that was revolutionary. He was a Magellan of his time. Nobody does that. But who loya mavin mash marotzmenu harehu kulo shakobo amo ruchnim. I have everything I need. I'm in my spiritual existence, my physical existence. Humus bonein the marechas kochavim roa kama chachma tmuna. He sees how wise is the Chachmat astronomy, and the study of the cosmos. Alfu shanim, years went by. Adam nafal medregaso, arachshav raglav, hayu ba'aretz v'rosho b'shamayim. Up until now, our feet were on the ground and our head was in the clouds. Me'ata shuva, that means good. It was a good thing in that sense, because Ein Rosho Shemayim, but now nobody's head is in heaven, meaning nobody's thinking on Ruchnias terms anymore. Ach, you can't change your nature. So it's true. Most people are not thinking about life. You ask your average person, they're not thinking about, well, okay, what does God think about this, right? We think about our natural world that we're in. But even though most people aren't thinking about what is God thinking about, we can't change our human nature. So what does God do? God gives us a way to be connected anyway to the heavens or the world beyond us. What do you mean? So it used to be that years ago, man was Man was naturally connected to that was beyond him. What does that mean? That means that we davened, or what was science? Science was also obsessed with, at one point for hundreds of years, astrology. It was the obsession. Copernicus is the world, and even Jewish theologians got into their svarim of this Rav David Gans, who was a scholar and astronomer. Did I say astrology? Astronomy, not astrology. Astronomy. Astrology is nuts. That is the Mishnah, but today most people assume it's science. You can get multiple PhDs in astronomy, not in astrology. In astrology, you wrap a funny scarf in your head and you read people's palms. But astronomy is real anyway, or at least study of the stars. So the astronomers of old. So you have Jews who were also very much into that discipline, and they would be. And the higher you were up in that discipline, you were considered connected with the leaders, the kings, and the top politicians. That was power. Many years. And what he's suggesting, again, this is a theory about man naturally needs to reach beyond himself. We have to reach, we know there's a truth beyond us, right? So what happens is that was the highest state of it. I lived in my little village. I never traveled the world, but I naturally extended. And then what happens? People forget about the world beyond them. This world becomes really fun place to live, right? You have amusement parks, and you've got roads to travel and Disneyland and vacations and things like that and all this stuff. And now the world expands. So what happens? It says the telephone is created, radio, cars, airplanes. I'm now extending myself over the whole world. That's man's nature. We have to expand beyond ourselves. If you're not going to reach heaven and you can't reach the whole world, what are you going to do? You're going to try to fill it horizontally, right? The Saba Shalanu, our grandfather Loyal Hazu, he didn't have these options, these expansive options. But the same thing as our Zaidi anyway. My father always told me that his grandfather would have loved to see these gadgets and what's been created. It would have been fascinating by us. But the truth is, we're the same. Saba Hayah or the Zaidi, he had the Harchavat Baruchnias. His mind was maybe more expansive on a spiritual perspective. He had an active relation with God. He lived with God. Maybe we don't have that. But man's natural tendencies haven't changed. We know in our heart of hearts that the world and the truth is beyond us, and that we can reach that place. But how are we reaching it? So just as Chazal described two traditions, man was either as wide as the world or as tall as to the heavens. That's the same philosophy. It's still happening to this day, and that now we're kind of going back to that idea. People are plummeting to the bottom of the sea, plummeting and imploding, or they're trying to travel bottom of the sea, or they're going to the stars to travel. More travel. Right. Yeah, I would disagree with his tracing of that historical trends, but point is taken. Meaning, you've always had people who are interested in stars, right? And the suggestion is that whatever that is, whenever it existed, that's the same drive as a interreligious drive, to long for a divine force that's beyond us, more powerful than us. That's coming from the same place. And what's the point of that year? To see if they want to sow their oats, or the point of that year is to explore? What is the point of doing that though? Why do they do that?
I think then I only know because of the TV.
Yeah. So I don't know if this is a steer. I don't know. Right. Right. So that might be a slightly different vantage point. This is saying that actually part of our spiritual drive is to see what's out there, not so we can get it out of our system, rather that we need to do that. That's actually part of our religious and DNA, our human goals. Mm, right. Yeah. So agreed. Agreed. But we're not saying once we can explore the world, then we'll reject it. And then we'll be happy living in our village again. Absolutely, absolutely. What the Chiddush I think he's trying to suggest here, if I'm wrong, is that need to explore is the same need as it is to connect to Hashem. It's the same basic human need to reach beyond where you are, your own physical world, your own spiritual dimension, right? In our spiritual dimension right now, I feel healthy, I eat well, I go to the doctor, I exercise, do what I have to do, and I take my medicine, and then everything's fine. But a spiritual thinking person realizes that that's just sort of the very surface, and that really it's Hashem, right? Really, the Rofe, actually, one of the things we said yesterday in Mincha Marev, so we're talking about the bracha of Refa'enu, and Rav Ezra Bick from Yeshua Har Tzion, in his phenomenal Sefer on Shemona Esrei, suggests that we say Refa'enu Hashem v'ner fe. Why the double language? We don't say this by any other bracha. We don't say by the bracha of give us parnasa and we will have parnasa. Give us health and we will have health. Of course, give us something, we're going to have it. So he quoted from the Zohar HaKadosh. The Zohar says, and this is also written in the writings of the Chidah, I'm Yaakov David Azulai, Sephardic Kabbalist, and he suggests that that when we reach our doctors or reach our agents to find healing, it's possible that it will help superficial, like a band-aid, temporarily. So there's Rifa'enu, but then if Hashem heals us, it's permanent. The Arapat, then we will be healed, or right? We will be healed. If you heal us, we will be healed, God. So that's final. That's if Hashem decides he's going to heal someone, that's the absolute. Other than that, we're reaching his agents and we're disconnected from the source. So so the same thing is true with our spiritual yearnings. We reach sometimes, some people it's very hard to pick up the phone and make a doctor's appointment. A lot of men have that problem. They don't want to see the doctor. I don't know. It doesn't bother me. And where's that coming from? So we're closed off spiritually, right? I'm happy with my world. I'm happy with my garage and my tools and my car, and I don't want to look beyond this place. Looking beyond is scary because then we need to know. Then Hashem has a wake-up call. I said, you gotta go to the doctor. Go to the doctor. What do you mean? We get up, we go reach beyond ourselves. And then we say, wait a minute, doctor doesn't know, giving me this percentage, and I gotta reach to God. And naturally, we need to go and expand beyond that self. That's how we're created. And then we'll find the real refuah. So it's true with proactive exploration of religion. You don't need to wait till you're sick to connect to Hashem like that, right? To feel Hashem constantly in our lives. Olamecha tira b'chayecha. You will see your world in your life. So hine yesh kilu chashim. It's 10:30. So it's 10:29. All right. Hine yesh kilu chashim sheshabbos hibeis hakela hagadol b'yos hashinish. Some people think Shabbos is the greatest prison in the world, especially in the summer. Lochim adam shetamun bo koach litrachev misof halom vad sofo. I'm naturally designed to expand, to explore the universe, to explore the four corners of the world, to travel to exotic islands. Someone told me they just had a birthday, they have endless supply of money, and they went to some luxurious country and whatever it is, just to, and I said, what was there? And he said, this is like the highest level of spending money. And I said, okay, I'm glad you found what you were looking for. And maybe you did, but we're designed to do that. We're actually designed to do that. So whatever money we have, we put aside for these vacations, we spend on it. Why do we do that? We're designed to do it. We have to reach beyond ourselves. So a person who is in Shabbos mode, could feel like a prison. Go in a car. You have to get up. license to take away. Right. You have to get a license. So how do you want to punish them? Take it away from him. Take a person's license away. Naturally, he's designed to be free, to be able to drive from north to south on his own, to get in a car and just drive, right? Forrest Gump, he just runs and just goes. That's part of our natural tendencies. We need to be able to do that, right? The uvda zu me'anika lo tchoshesh shlita. To take away your influence in the world, to say, well, you're really limited now. You have fewer choices. Menia Shabbos Adam Margish Kalu. Megia Shabbos arrives and we feel that we are stuck. We are imprisoned. Emet hi Shabbos Kodesh Baruch Hu zokef kol et Adam. Man is actually straightened out and elongated Shabbos. Instead of stretching ourselves out and digging a tunnel to China, you're stretched out vertically to the spiritual planes. New York. You have a way to get from Israel to New York. Lumad Zot, that's the center of the world, New York. Wondering. It really is. I was there last week. It's just so it's amazing what's there. I was at a shul where I think there were 9 shachris minyan in the morning. Each of them had like 60 people in them, and no one really it didn't matter. I noticed like 3 or 4 prominent pulpit rabbis that I know. They were just stopping there. No one recognized them. It was like you don't matter in that culture. So many people. Scary, right? Yeah, right. And that's everywhere. And it's not just everyone. They all are. Right? But the point is, it's just another. That's like saying accountants. So, Lumad Zot Yehudi Milifnei Me'ashana Hayamit Kashrot Baruch Hu Avuro Amitat Baruch Ata Hashem Haisa Hodaya Harbe Chavaya rather Harbe Yoser Merageshet Zekav Harbe Yoter Aruch Yoter Mergash. You can take a plane to Eretz Yisrael. The Baruch Ata Hashem, it's a direct line to God. It's during certain hours the train goes straight and doesn't pass. It's the express, right? El Sha'atzleinu Kav Hazeh Nikta. It was cut off. But Anachnu Mitnaim Shanu Yodim Ma Shekora Be'olam. We think we know. Mitgaim. We think we're arrogant. We believe we know what's going on in the world. What are you so confident about? We're barely a tefach above the ground. We're not really aware of the spiritual dimension. Shabbos says to us, no, you're not on the ground anymore. You're so much higher than that. You're in the higher worlds. Izman Chazal in time of our sages, when Talmidei Chacham were separate from one another, what they said? Olamecha tir b'chayecha. Timset olam shelcha b'toch hachayim shelcha. Your world is just your life. Adam einu yochel l'chayot l'lo sheyesh lo kaf yado olam. Kachu nivra. Person has the world in his hands. The question was, what world do we have in our hands? Chachamim said, Olamecha, your world. Olam that you inherited from Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Avot, Imot, that you can see in your own world, in your own Olam Hazeh. Okay, so Lano, we're going to finish this chapter now. Mafriya kishe mechinim osano mitzum tzamim bothers us when we feel trapped, stuck, right? And I've said this in the past, the worst punishment you could do to a person is not moving past one station in life to the other. That's tough. Our hardest times are when you're trying to get better and you can't get better, when you're trying to learn a skill and you can't, you're trying to get married and you can't get married, you have a kid, you can't have a kid, right? Miracles that you're waiting for the Yam Suf to open and they don't, that's torture for man. We don't like being stuck, but a lot of our time, as Dr. Seuss brilliantly said, is spent in the waiting room. The waiting room when you're waiting for something to change, right? Remember the waiting room?
Yeah. It's from
It's in the places you'll go.
Yeah. Places, oh, the places.
That's what it was. I assumed it was that. The waiting place. Here is this is my favorite part of the book. Here we go. Let's see if I can find it. Someone put a pink background here just to kill my eyes. A lot of scary things. I didn't hear. This is the best. The waiting place. So this is the most useless place, he says. For people just waiting for a train to go, or a bus to come, or a plane to go, or the mail to come, rain to go. Sorry, it's for the rain to go, or the phone to ring, snow to snow. Waiting around for a yes or a no, waiting for their hair to grow. Everyone is just waiting for the fish to bite, waiting for the wind to fly a kite, waiting around for Friday night, waiting perhaps for their Uncle Jake, pot to boil, better break, a string of pearls, or a pair of pants, that guy, or a wig with curls, or another chance. Everyone is just waiting. That is so great. So this is the most agonizing experience for all of us. Pointed out this week, read Maaseh, and the Jews go from one camp to the next. And sometimes they would wait, they would go immediately from one camp to the next, and sometimes they'd have to wait there. And there was never any sign how long you'd have to be there. So we just say, okay, we're going. But wait, now I want to be here. Nope, you gotta go. I don't want to move. I don't want to change my life around now. I don't want to do this. I don't want to have to go to the hospital, and you have to go. And then the next minute, you're ready to get past the place because it's it's a flyover state in life, and you're there. You're just like stuck in Iowa for the next 5 years. You have to figure out why. And Hashem says, okay, time to leave now. So this is exactly what Dr. Seuss was hitting at. Illinois is a great state. It's wonderful. There's so much to do here. I love Illinois. I mean, it's not Israel, but I love, you figure out that Iowa's great? Or you figure out, yeah, I know, but you're right. Right. But the point is that to feel like you are stuck, it's the worst experience that you can have. It's interesting because you talk about these stories of people who are imprisoned, like rabbis in prison because in times of anti-Semitism, when they would throw these rabbis in prison, or in the Shoah and things like that, or Siberian prisons, and they had with them like a Gemara, like the story behind why the Margolius Hayam, Reuven Margolius wrote this phenomenal sefer on Masechah Sanhedrin, because if you have that in prison, like you're not in prison at all. Like you're Bosha Magia Shamayma, you're on the highest plane. Rabina made a siyum like every year. His father's year said brachos. His father had a brachos wherever he was in prison, and like that's amazing. And then of course the Twilight Zone has the guy who has now all the time and he loses his glasses break and he can't read all the books. That's torture. Yeah, all the time in the world and all the place in the world to explore. No ability to explore it, then ultimately you're in prison. Right? And so this olamecha tira b'chayecha, this idea that if you knew how far your world reached, you wouldn't feel like you're waiting for Shabbos or for some other thing because you're there. That world, your Adam is always that tall. If you remember that. Kol kach kashet lanu l'Shabbos in bnei mishpacha v'lumod otam shisi chatan v'nifgashti ishti. When I was a chatan, I met my wife. I see no say la drashot al shel divrei Torah b'meshech shav shayim. I would, I guess, give her drashos. What? And I would write letters of divrei Torah Ach, acharei hachatana, after the wedding, ma be'emet what was the difference? Chatana rotzin l'malei et hazmanim tochan manyen. Baruch Hashem, avarenu b'nei Torah ein davar manyen yoter midivrei Torah. Ach acharei hachatana chayim ima chayim atzma. We live together, and therefore kan anu toim. Aleinu livdok b'atzmenu ha'im Torah yadut haim etzleinu achayim atzmam. Ein michol manu lachayot. Olam shel Torah. I don't know what his point is there, but okay. Aderech hayechida, the main path. Lagia ovahem ne'ageh yom v'layla is Torah, to engage in Torah day and night. V'ayidei ki hem chayim v'rachim. That is the essence of life. Torah hem chayim. That was describing the people who are imprisoned with a sefer, right, or a vision, or a dream. Or the guy who survived. There's a story I said last year in Tisha B'Av, a guy who had survived the war, and asked how he did it, and he said that he had bought a place in Palestine beforehand, and the whole time he had mental measurements of the room, and he envisioned furnishings and getting it ready, and it's all he would review in his prison, in whatever camp he was in. He'd be walking and pacing and everything, where everything would go and how many steps. And that was his whole life, was living in that paradise that was going to be there. And afterwards, when he got out, he said that was the source of survival. Now, he said that one way to reach that place is if Torah is your life. But if Torah is not your life, if Torah is your torture, if you hate Torah, or it's mindless, or it's pointless, or boring, it's prison. Kids in high school say, "Shir is so boring, I can't do it." And by the way, sometimes teachers are boring and they shouldn't be teaching. As a Rebbe of mine once said, "Great, you love Torah, but why should children suffer because you love Torah?" Remember, that's an important lesson. However, for you who are learning, for me, learning, if I am not engaged, on board with it, then ultimately, that's the greatest torture in the world. Aseder hu kodem sur merah v'asetov. You can't live in two worlds. We live in one world, and the Torah is part of that world. It's our whole world. We can use the desire and the oneness to reach out beyond us through the prism of Torah. So he's suggesting that Torah is the medium through which we live beyond our own confines. And the one way in which is to close the paper or whatever distraction you're looking at, internet, right? Nasav olam hulin so lo tachlif holeim. Find your purpose that is holeim, that is okay. Amar Chazal Gimel, your unique purpose. Gimel Kisarim him. There are three crowns: Keter Malchus, Keter Kahuna, and Keter Torah. It says by each one, Vasisa lo Varon Ksiva Asu Alav, and by the Aaron it says, and he made it upon there. Lamdecha Sheketer Torah Meula Yoter Mikulon. There's different language by Torah. Torah is different than the other achievements. Mastery of kingship, of political mastery, or Kahuna is another form of leadership. But Torah is the best. And the Medrash says, if you get the Torah, you get all of them. It's like you can spread throughout the whole world through Torah. Keter hu chelik hagavoh biyoter v'adam. See kids who are like learning fervently in yeshiva, they're excited and they're learning through sugya. They don't feel like they're missing out on anything in the world. But I guarantee you that there are people who, when they are sort of streaming their life away on devices, they don't feel like they're living their life. They may feel distracted or less bored in the moment. They're not alive. So the Torah is the best way for man to reach beyond parameters that we have, natural parameters. Now, Rosho, Torah is Gavoh B'Adam. Man is so tall, he's above his head. Talmid Chacham, Chai B'Olamot, who lives in the worlds of Torah, Nimtza Me'al Hamon Am. He's above the world. Im Rotzim Liyot Ben Torah, Efshar Liyot Kamo Kulam Kecha Min Hamon. If you want to be Ben Torah, you're not like the rest of the world. Uchacham Litromem, you're higher. Yot Zakof, full stature. L'shachev, v'lo l'shachev, it's not to lie on the ground. Rak kach nizke l'kach kisra shel Torah. That's how you get the crown of Torah. Shichach masam v'naschem l'nei amin, which is the wisdom of the world in the eyes of the nations. And so this idea, I think, is summarizes that we do expand the world. We have a natural tendency and a desire to reach beyond us. That's what every human drive is. That's why the misery is the waiting place. And the way in which spiritually attentive Jews do that, go beyond the waiting place, is through Torah and through Shabbos. Shabbos is time, right? And Torah is the cognitive process. Now, if you're in Israel, by the way, you are expansive in your place. You're everywhere in Israel, right? If you're really connected to the land, you don't feel like you have to travel, which is really interesting. Really connect there, people. There's an issur to leave Israel. You know that? Prohibition. It's a prohibition to leave the state of Israel. What does that mean? It means you have to get a heter to leave. We all should be asking: is it mutter to leave? Is it for parnasa? Is it for health, family, learning Torah? But the point is, because you're everywhere. If you're in Israel, you're connected to. You're expansive. It's the most expansive place in Makkah. Anyway, the headquarters. Okay, stop.